Hello everyone and welcome back to the ULM Dynasty. We are back here now looking over the bowl games following our heart-crushing loss to TCU in the national championship, in the Rose Bowl basically. It was a Rose Bowl national championship. You know how it works. It rotates every year. You get it. But we do lose it, so it's our second straight big bowl bid that we've gotten in back-to-back years. We were in the Fiesta Bowl the year before and lost to Virginia Tech, and this year we lose the national championship to TCU, which is brutal. But, it's now begging the question of, can we win the big one? Can we even win the big one? Are we on the tier of these big teams, or are we just imposters, just posers? You know what I mean? Is that us? Is that what we are? Are we forever just cursed to be a group of 5 team that just cannot seem to get over the hump? I hope not, because I was hoping that we would get over the hump. Wade Richmond is an All-American, our running back, which is kind of cool. I mean, not get Heisman bids or anything like that, but at least to be an All-American, 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, that's a good season to have. So we move ahead, looking ahead at, sorry. My brain's still just scrambled from the Natty, from just losing the Natty. I mean, TCU has a lot of All-Americans here, so clearly it was worth it, or clearly they deserved it, rather, and we have 2 so far. So Corey Becker, I mean, he's basically had the same season he's always had, but I guess the sack number was enough to get him an All-American bid this year. So, but yeah, there's a lot of Horned Frogs who are represented in the All-American section, obviously. Not super shocking, as they were clearly the better team, but I mentioned it in the last video, bro. Just imagine what needs to happen in a college football season to where they're like, yeah, you know what, a 1-loss ULM team and an undefeated TCU is good enough for this stage, for the Rose Bowl, mind you. I mean, I don't think we will ever see ULM in a Rose Bowl or any New Year's Six Bowl, but, I mean, that's what's fun about these games, man. It's just fun. So, we're going to move ahead, of course, looking over the rest of our All-Americans. I think those 2 are probably the only that we have, unless there was a second team that I missed, but we're going to look over our season stats, of course, and Calvin Manning, the long-lost descendant of the Manning family, throws for over 3,000 yards, almost hits 30 touchdowns, a decent enough season from Calvin Manning. I'm not too upset. 54% pass percentage is gross, and it sucks, but it is what it is. Wade Richmond, far and away, is, of course, our leading rusher. I mean, there's no one even close, dude. He got all of the carries. But receiving is kind of an interesting tale here. So Darnell Leach, really, his production drops off steep, but receptions, I mean, he leads the team in receptions by 15, man. So he was getting the ball 15 more times than anyone else, and wasn't doing a whole lot with it, especially compared to some of the other receivers here, like Schroeder, of course. So, looking at the line here, Chris Kim has an amazing season, man. He finally gets on after being redshirt in his 5th year, and he really shows out. So, maybe he'll be playing on Sundays, drafted in like the 6th round. Who knows? But Eric Jarvis gets back on the field after not playing for 2 years. Baron Carter has a good season as well. I mean, there's not too much really to highlight from the rest of our line. So, Joe Vaughn leading the team here in tackles with 76, gets close to his highest total at 82. But he also comes in here at 3rd with TFLs. Corey Becker, of course, leading the team in TFLs at 14. He was our All-American selection from our defense. And he's also leading the team in sacks with 10 by a considerable margin, by about 4 sacks. So that's pretty huge. And then Calvin Saunders is our leading INT guy, our strong safety. He leads the team in picks. And then we'll, of course, look over past deflections. And Barry Davis, our junior cornerback, leads the team with 12. So those are the big defensive numbers here. And then Marty Ballard has his best season out, as a kicker. He's progressively gotten a little bit better each year, with his best season in his senior year. So that's how the team stacks up here. So pretty decent all around. But we will look at the standings now and just see how the Sun Belt laid out. And of course, we win it pretty convincingly yet again. Middle Tennessee State finally comes back, throws their hat back in the ring. North Texas hasn't really fallen off either. They're still there, a decent season for them. But the rest of the conference, of course, is still pretty bad. It's a huge drop-off from New Mexico State to the cellar dwellers of our conference as Idaho wins 1 game yet again. Pretty consistent, man. And Lafayette is, of course, still bad. So looking over the top 25 polls, Virginia Tech, who beat us last year, comes in at 3, just above us at 4. BYU finishes 2. I mean, what a weird year, man. What a weird year. Some of the perennial teams that we've been seeing, like Purdue and Oklahoma and Texas, are here just outside the top 10. Ohio State at 12, Louisville and UTEP at 13 and 14. Weird. North Texas from our conference is here at 17 with 3 losses, which is interesting. Washington State climbs into the rankings, as does Syracuse. Toledo here at 22, and then A&M, Arkansas, and Maryland round out the top 25 to end this season. So year 8 of our dynasty, man. It's been a while. I've already said that it doesn't go on for too much longer. There might be 3 or 4 seasons left. I'm going to try to get through them all and just upload the rest of it here. Hopefully have it all done by college football 25, and then maybe we'll do something with that, as I've mentioned in my update video last weekend. So, but here are the people who we are losing. Chris Kim, who is our best lineman, is gone. Richmond, of course, our running back is also leaving. Some other big names here. Becker, our All-American defensive tackle, is leaving. Our kicker is leaving. So this is a pretty big year. We're losing a lot of talent. Just a lot of guys who are starting. We still have the roster's gotten to the point where we're not like at a detriment, you know, like if a bunch of people leave. But still, I mean, it's a huge loss. So we only managed to get 3 5-star prospects, which is kind of bad for this team. With the trajectory that we've been on for, you know, the last handful of years, it's kind of upsetting to see that recruiting seems to be on a downtick. And I've said a million times how I don't recruit just to recruit, but we still need to be loading a lot of talent, man, because look at the teams here that are at the top in recruiting. So Texas, Virginia Tech, and TCU, all teams that we will be seeing. You know what I mean? They're not going away. They've been here this entire time, and we need to somehow outpace them, because 2 of those teams have beaten us, and all these teams are up here, man. Look at their numbers. You see that they were ranked right around us here, and we are nowhere to be found so far in the top 25. So, well, here we are at 19. So we come in at 19. Still a decent recruiting class because we loaded it with 4 stars, but that just means that the team is getting worse. So, or rather, it got worse in this year. You know what I mean? With recruiting, it just got worse. So we need to be getting better. North Texas is here at 23, so at least we out-recruited them. You know, the only team, I guess, in our conference that would really threaten us. I didn't see Middle Tennessee State, but they might not be that far out either. So, but here are the training results. Clearly looking over the numbers here, we are not getting considerably worse. We still have a lot of horses in our stable at various parts across the field. We've been doing it for the last few years where we just basically have first-year starters every year, man. We're not really dwelling on the same players or talent. Everyone is really fighting for just one opportunity to get onto the field, and there's only a few positions where we're still kind of weak at, and that's really, I guess, kind of the line. Our line has been kind of weak, and then I think maybe some of our more interior defensive pieces haven't been the best, you know, but overall, I've built a solid core through this program to where now it's kind of almost reaching that too big to fail point, you know what I mean? Like, with Northwestern, the big thing about Northwestern was it reached the too big to fail point. It didn't matter how bad we did in the season or how bad I did recruiting. We still had plenty of guys where it was just like, no, we'll still be a top team. It doesn't matter. With this team, I feel like I'm really struggling to get that to that point. Like, we have great seasons every year now. We've only lost 1 to 2 games every year for the last, like, 2 or 3 seasons, but we're just not achieving that main goal. And last year was our first real chance to do it. And from watching the game and editing it, I really never felt like we were in a real position to do that. So we need to somehow get over that hump if possible, man. That's really the thing I was chasing when I recorded this whole series, is just trying to get over that hump. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the philosophy now moving forward with the last handful of seasons, less than a handful, but you get it. The last few seasons here, the goal is really to just get over that hump and see if we can at least just win one at this point. I've already lowered my expectations to just at least winning one with ULM, or just even winning the big one, you know what I mean? Like, the Fiesta Bowl wasn't the Natty last year, but I mean, I would have enjoyed a Fiesta Bowl win, you know what I mean? Like, I think the only bowl games we've won so far is New Orleans Bowl's titles, and our bowl record is not looking that good. We've lost a lot of bowl games, so you know, I've built a good enough team that can compete in the regular season. We're regular season merchants, but when the bowl game comes around, we're kind of struggling. So let's look over the depth chart here after I cut through some players here. So it looks like we're going to have a different starting QB. I'm going to look over Manning and Franklin to see who's got the better throwing numbers here, but obviously it's going to be Franklin. The game auto kind of set that. So Manning is not going to be our starter heading into this year, even though he had a good year for his last year. He's not going to get the start. Looking around at receiving cores a little bit deeper, we at least have a definitive 1 and 2 option. We haven't had that the last few years. It's been a really thin receiving core. Finally, we've gotten a little bit better receiving prospects, but still nothing like super great. And 87 overall is fine, I'll take it, but that steep drop off to 80 and then into the 70s is really not good. We don't have a great running back for this year either, but our linebacking core has gotten really good. Something I was just critiquing a second ago. It looks like it's finally developing into what we really need it to be, with a bunch of 90s all over the roster, so that's really good. Same with our secondary, man. We got great pieces on our defense, which looks like the big thing, and maybe that's what's preventing us from reaching that next level. Is we just really have yet to have a really explosive offense. I always had an explosive offense with Northwestern, or at least depth at that area. Running the ball was never a thing, but we always had a great quarterback, and we always had great receivers. I think by the end there, we had like 90-something overall quarterbacks, and I don't think we've reached that yet with ULM. So maybe if the offense gets a little bit better and a little bit stronger, that's something we can look into. But in the next episode, we will cover that season, or our next season, our 2010 season here. We've been at the helm for a while, but here's the schedule as it looks. Pretty normal here. I don't change around a lot. I just make sure we play 12 games, because I hate how it has us play 11 games. I feel like that hurts our chances with rankings and bowl games. So I hope to see you guys in the next video when we do the 2010 season. Hopefully we can rebound after our loss in the Rose Bowl last year.